You better explain what Mom's House is and what you do and who you are.
I would love to, Steve. I've been in the real estate business for over 20 years. And back in 2011, I got myself emerged into the senior living world. It was called Mom's House because even if dad is the one that's still alive, a lot of times the families say, what are we going to do with Mom's house? And I literally buy Mom's house for a living. And so Ben and I are building this company around the fact that the senior living industry is looking at ways to speed up and lengthen the stay. And it's one of the biggest problems that we see facing the senior living industry is that hurdle of getting the house ready when you're moving mom into senior living, getting it ready, getting it cleaned out. When you buy someone's forever home, we take that as a great honor, but the family is overwhelmed by taking care of mom. The last thing they want to do is rehab the house and even clean it out like maybe a realtor might suggest. So to be clear, we're not real estate agents. We don't want to get listings. We actually want to buy the house. We do that nationwide, and we're a part of the senior living sales process. So we're so glad to be here because any owner operators and people in placement and some other vendors that help the space, we are a lubrication to speed up the whole process of the number one thing we care about. Where is mom going to get the best care? And then right behind is what are we going to do with the house? What do we do with the stuff? Mom's house takes care of the house and the stuff.
And we're not talking about days or weeks. We're talking about having mom move into senior living months earlier. And when you have a customer that is only going to be with you for maybe 2 years, on average, if we can add another 2 to 3 months on the front end of that stay, we help the senior living industry become much more profitable. But even more important, we help mom get into care, which we know that when her meds are regulated and when she gets moved in and she's around other people, that she's happier and lives longer, and there's less chance of her having another fall or getting hurt.
Okay, so there are two big questions I have that I know that are going through the audience mind, and I'm going to lay both the questions out, and then we'll take one at a time. The first is I just want to sort of walk through the scenario, the process, how it works, and the second thing is that people are going to be thinking, yeah, but you're going to buy this house at a steal and rip off my client, and they're never and they're never going to do that. So I actually want to do the process one first, even though I think the second one is more important. But let's go through the process. So I'm a senior living salesperson. I've got a prospect. They're going, yeah, this is the place I want to go. I got to move in. And as a salesperson, I'm saying, okay, when do you want to move in? Like 25 or 30 days. And they're going, how about, I think it's going to take us 9 months to get mom's house sold. How about
Right.
months? So
Right.
so at that point in time, I pick up the phone and I call Phillip or Ben or somebody at mom's house and say, help.
Yeah, on a local level, that's how it works. But on a national level, that with Mom's House, that senior living professional would go right to our system, and they would put that information in about that family to get them help. And so it's done um, through that transfer of that data to us from the system. But I want to answer your second question because I think it is very important. In fact, one of the things we train, one of the chapters we train on is, do you just lowball? Right? That's the question that you asked, and the answer is no. I can show you material facts that families should not be rehabbing themselves. There's companies out there that do data on what it costs to rehab. And Steve, nobody's going to argue right now that the real estate market's not phenomenal, right? I've been in real estate 22 years. This is the strongest market I've ever seen, but you have to get the house to the market. And so what lives in front of even a rehab is getting the house cleaned out. When you buy someone's forever home, it's not usually 2 years old. It's usually 30, 40, 60, 70 years old. And they've lived there for many, many decades. And the house is full of stuff. And so the unraveling of from treasures down to trash, and every house has that, is a big, tedious undertaking. And with the adult children living over 400 miles away, that's the last thing they want to do in that time when they're trying to find the best care for mom. As out of town children try to help their parents or even local rehab the house, it's a one-off transaction, and so they're paying way too much to get the house ready for the market. And when you get all the numbers boiled down to what the family nets after they've gone through all that trouble to try to rehab it to get it ready for the market, they should have taken our offer in the first place. But the only way they figured that out, Steve, is 9 months later, after they went through the pain, they went over budget. The first set of contractors took their money. The second set was a little better. The point is that there's so much strife and turmoil. I don't know if you know this, Steve, but these families, even families that get along, have a tough time getting along during this process. And if they can't figure out who's going to get mom's kitchen, her skillet, how are they going to pick out what color cabinets they're going to put in the house to rehab it, to try to get that top dollar? Because the agents, they want to list a house at top dollar so they can get more commission. With us, we actually want to do that part of the journey. We're professional rehabbers, and so I can do a $60,000 rehab for 25. That difference is our profits. And so when we make an offer on a house, it's based on the fact I can do that at scale. We're a professional real estate company. This is what we specialize in. And what we see is the families get in over their head, and they only figure it out when it's too late. And so if we're able to meet with them and show them line by line what needs to be done to the house, retail, to get it retail ready, or what we can do it for, they come down to the fact, they say, well, why in the world would I rehab it if I'm going to net the same amount? And we're like, exactly. And that's how Mom's House was born over 10 years ago.
Okay. Terrific.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that, when you touched on how the senior living industry interacts with us, they have the ability to contact us, but we also will work on integrations with any of the major CRMs, connectivity, because we are part of that sales process. In this entire service, national service that we've created to plug our service in, we can plug it into anybody's system, and they're instantly turned on to access to our entire network all over the United States. And that whole network we've trained. We've trained that entire network. So we're in every market, can help each family. We want to get people redirected on how they've thought in the past. The solution's always been for senior living to say, find a real estate agent. Phillip talked about, they say, clean it out. Then it's like, if you want top dollar, go hire the contractors to get it done. And by the time they do that, in the carrying cost and taxes, insurance, possible mortgage payments, and they do all that, and then pay a 6% commission to a real estate agent, a real estate investor is a really good fit to come in and say, I'll buy the house, I'll close in 3 weeks, take the things that are really important to you, and don't worry, I'll take care of the rest of the stuff. And it just relieves all that emotional stress off the adult children, the senior, and helps them to get moved in months earlier.
So, so this brings up another question. Where do you fit in with the world of move managers?
People that are doing downsizing, those kinds of things, those are the types of national relationships that we've built to be able to plug into our national network. Our people are not in the stuff business. They're coming to the family with this holistic approach to say, we've got solutions and options. If they need help finding a care community, we may be able to plug them into a partner we already have, or to a placement agent. If they need help with the stuff and it's good enough for an estate sale, we might plug somebody in like a caring transition or somebody else that's a resource that does it. We stay in our lane, but we're bringing this huge abundance of resources to the family to try to reduce the stress and move it along. So we're not in the moving business, and we're not in the stuff business, but we are in the business of kind of being there to provide a lot of resources to the family at no charge to the family, by the way, or the care communities.
So, well, I guess sort of one other question I have that sort of relates to all of this. So again, we're going back to this family that can't move for 9 months, right? So I come to one of your local representatives, and will that person actually sort of help me move the sale on then?
Well, we'll be buying the house, so we will be actually doing the sale on the date that fits the family's needs, whether that's 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Or, my favorite question is that in a perfect world, what day would be great for you guys to move? What we always see is they'd like to close a few days early before mom's move-in date, and then have a few extra days to get their things and belongings out. Like Ben said, we're not in the stuff business, but we're going to try to, when we can, we try to unlock the value of the stuff. You'd be surprised. I'll give you a crazy stat here in St. Louis. 99% of the sales, the estate sales in St. Louis, garner between $3,000 and $5,000 in revenue. 3,000 and 5,000 is what the sale creates, Steve. To put the sale on, it takes about $3,000 to $5,000 to put the sale on. So rough math, you could make anywhere from 2,000 to zero on the sale of the house because of what it takes to get all that stuff cataloged, chronicled, listed, sold. And so I didn't necessarily say their stuff was worth zero. I think it's actually worse than that because of the time and effort it took to get to zero. Yeah. Right. And you don't, one of those things, again, you don't know that until you go through that pain. And this, all the stories of, well, dad paid $1,800 for that piano. Now what is it worth? These things like all these families have such an emotional time. This stuff can be harder than even the house. But we come in as a holistic approach to help with the entirety of that move. And that's why people love working with Mom's House, is because when things were going badly were a thing that was like an easy button during that time of moving mom in or dad.
So I just have one thing to say. Where were you when I had to do this for my mom 7 years ago?
I hear that a lot, Steve.
We hear that every day. Every
Yes,
day.
sir.
I heard it at lunch today with a senior living professional. It's like, we just dealt with this last week. We needed, where were you?
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
spent weeks and weeks and weeks getting the house ready to sell. And I cannot tell you how many trips we actually made so many trips to a Goodwill drop off that they told us we couldn't come anymore to their drop off because we'd filled up their container.
It's
Steve,
funny
do you
you
live
said
in the
it's funny
same
you said
city?
that. We're in a market where you can't give the china away anymore. The millennials don't even have a hutch to put it in. You know, that the kids don't want the china, right? It's like that kind of ended, and stuff is a big deal. And you know, we take it as a great honor to buy someone's forever home because we understand that that's where their memories were, the good and bad memories of a life. We have great respect for these families, and I think the investor world is can be looked at as a negative, right? There's a lot of people that are bad actors in our space, and the realtor world, you know, that world is changing. I don't know if you know this, but since 2017, billions of dollars have shown up in the real estate agent space to eliminate real estate agents. They're called iBuyers. These things like Open Door and Zillow, you might have heard of. If you pay attention to the news, Zillow just lost $1 billion trying to be a computer to buy a house. And Ben and I, we take great pride in saying that we are the anti-iBuyer. We are not iBuyers. We are in the hugs and kisses business, and we plan to be on the people business and put daughter Judy and that senior first in a time when they really need it. One of our colleagues told us before that he said it was harder for him to move his dad into senior living than it was to bury his father. And I think that's a profound statement that these people think that they're on an island and they don't know which way to turn. They're looking for good advice. And like you said 7 years ago, you didn't even know what you were getting into. You couldn't even give this stuff away. Goodwill wouldn't even take it. And these families are just like, take care of it. We don't want to do it, especially when you can show them on paper why they're going to net around the same amount anyway. Why would you go through all the trouble if you could get the same amount? No person would do that.
Yeah,
Steve,
guys,
we've
this has been
so many families that need help. You know, I went through this myself 7 or 8 years ago with my stepfather. You know, we've got thousands of families coming to us a month that we're helping and getting, you know, assigned to our senior transition specialists all over the country. It's just been amazing to be building a business that just gets to help so many people. You know, when Phillip and I sat down, gosh, that's been a year and a half ago that we had this discussion, but we said, how come so many people don't know about what's about to happen in senior living when somebody's going to transition into care? And we came up with this idea to write the book that I wrote, The Paying for Long-Term Care, that became an Amazon bestseller because there was not any really good resources. We put a lot of money and effort into building that resource, and it doesn't say Mom's House anywhere in it. It's an essential guide for families that when they're going through this, to say, you know, a lot of people that the husband dies first and the widow was widowed to a veteran, but then 8 years later, nobody's there to ask the widow, did your husband serve? And so we're teaching people to ask those questions when they're meeting with families to make sure there's not money available to people that served or how things are going to work, and just providing just a huge abundance of free resources to families.
This is really, really terrific. I appreciate the time. I appreciate what you're doing to make people's lives better.
Thanks for having us on, Steve.
Thank you for having us on, Steve.